Good afternoon, folks, and welcome. I'm Thomas Allen, and I am calling this video Fix Yourself. A lot of you folks may recognize me from as the Thomas who was on the Dr. Phil show forever ago. Um, a lot has happened since uh, that my appearance on that show. A lot of good things have happened, you know, for me in my life. My life's not perfect, but I would challenge you to point out someone to me whose life is perfect. Um, but the good news is that recovery is possible, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. I'm really not here to talk about Dr. Phil. Um, I am here to talk about what I wanted to talk about when I went on his show over 10 years ago. So that's what I want to focus on and talk about today. I want to talk about recovery, and I'm talking mostly to people who are suffering from a compulsive uh, behavioral disorder. If you're suffering from compulsive overeating, gambling, exhibitionism, as was what I suffered from, as many of you will know who remember me from that show. The topic of that show was exhibitionism, and of course, I was the guest on that show because I had struggled with exhibitionism. So I'm here today to talk about recovery, and I don't want to talk about Dr. Phil too much. I just bring that up because, you know, many people will recognize me from that clip that is still floating around on YouTube to this day, which is okay. But I don't want to get, bogged down in the whole, well, why did you go on the show? If you know how Dr. Phil is and all that. I don't want to get involved in that today. What I would rather talk about today is recovery and the hope that comes with recovery. Um, what I went on that show to say to people was simply that, if you are suffering from a compulsive behavior, whether it's alcoholism, gambling, drugs, exhibitionism. I know people who compulsively wash their hands. I knew this girl who used to always just, she would go in the bathroom and she would be in there for like an hour. And I would be wondering what the hell is she doing in there for that long? And she would be washing. I've come to find out later, she was in there washing her hands. Um, some people compulsively, check windows and doors and they just compulsively check over and over and over again to make sure that the windows and doors in the home are locked. And so compulsive. My point with this is just to say that compulsive behaviors, compulsive urges, obsessive thinking comes in a lot of different forms. Virtually, I believe every form of behavior can be engaged in on a compulsive, obsessive level. And I've come to find out over the years that no matter what the behavior, I knew a guy that I actually met on YouTube. I met through the Dr. Phil YouTube clip. We communicated back and forth, and this guy suffered from compulsive urges to slam things and break things. And obviously, you can see how that would present a problem. Living at home with the rest of the family. I mean, if you're going around the house just breaking things, that's gonna cause some friction, at home. So there's just so many different forms of it. And so the reason why I want to do these videos, and I'm calling this video Fix Yourself, because um, again, going back to the whole appearance on the Dr. Phil show, my whole point, and I don't want to talk about this too much, but this is the reason why I'm calling this video Fix Yourself, because the whole point of that was that just to show that Dr. Phil was saying that you can't help someone. I was asking him, well, what do you know about it? You've never suffered from a compulsive behavior, so what would you know about it? And he's like, well, he says that's like telling a brain surgeon that he can't. And I'm not going to play the clip right now, but he said that that's like telling a brain surgeon that he can't help you overcome a problem unless he's had a brain tumor. Well, I mean, totally totally ridiculous. Obviously, that's a ridiculous thing to say. It's a ridiculous analogy since, you know, a brain surgeon goes to school to learn, a technical skill, how to physically make an incision into a person's head and go in there, with a scalpel and remove a tumor. They haul you back into an operating room, and they spend, I don't know, 2, 3, however many hours it takes to remove that tumor from your brain, and they sew you back up and put you in a recovery room, where you uh, can heal up from your physical wound, and you're fixed. Okay, for in a couple of hours, they take you in there, remove the tumor, you're fixed. I don't know of any psychologist or psychiatrist that can take you in a room for 2 hours and physically take a scalpel and remove a problematic behavior and send you on your way as good as new. It doesn't work like that. And that's why, when Dr. Phil said that, I was looking at him like, this guy's a moron. But again, I'm not trying to get into that, but this is the reason why I'm calling this video Fix Yourself. Because when it comes right down to it, there are people who can help you and assist you along the way. Lord knows I have had many people to help me along the way in my path to recovery. And so, I say this, to people who are suffering from compulsive urges. I will look you in the eye and I will tell you that if you are in the throes, in the grip of this progressive illness, it probably seems to you like your situation is hopeless. You are helpless, powerless to overcome the compulsive urges that you have to go out and gamble, to even smoke a cigarette. It becomes a compulsive thing, to expose yourself to strange women, to go gambling, drinking, with the washing the hands, all of those things. The thing that each person who suffers from these types of compulsive behaviors have in common is that it leaves you feeling uh, a sense of demoralization and self-loathing. People who, unless you're a psychopath, and psychopaths have really no conscience and no feelings of guilt. They didn't get that guilt gene for some reason. So, but unless you're a psychopath, these compulsive behaviors, giving into them, it's kind of like, and for a person who smokes crack, and they go out and they're smoking this crack and they're spending all their money, and the next thing you know, they've in one night have gone through several $100s, and they wake up the next day broke. They spent all their money smoking this crack or the crystal methamphetamine or whatever the drug of choice of the day is, and the demoralization that they feel, the self-loathing that they feel. Um, I know for me, when I was acting out on my compulsive behavior, I did not like the person that I saw in the mirror. I loathed that person. I hated myself. And so I was desperate and willing to do anything that I had to do to overcome that behavior. And so that's really what I'm here to talk about today, is the solution to the problem, which I didn't get a chance to talk about on the Dr. Phil show. And I wish I had, because that was a platform that would have given me and Dr. Phil as well an opportunity to reach out and help possibly thousands, tens of thousands of people suffering from compulsive behaviors. But for ratings' sake, he chose to go another direction with that whole show. But um, and I have done videos in the past, but I guess the point is, you grow along the path and at the pace that um, that you're supposed to grow at. And I just was not ready, I guess, at that time to really share the solutions to the problems. I mean, now it's been a good 15, 20 years for me in recovery. I don't know exactly the exact number of years. I will have to go back and calculate and figure that out. But for me, I can happily say that I have been free from my compulsive urges, not just the behavior, and pay close attention to what I just said there. And because I'm going to repeat that, and I want you to let this sink in. I didn't say it has been between 15 and 20 years since since I have engaged in that behavior. I said it has been 15 or 20 years since I have had any of those urges. I haven't even had an urge to engage in those behaviors. The compulsive urge to engage in the urges to engage in that behavior are gone, and they have been gone for between 15 and 20 years, is what I'm saying. Not that I have suppressed it, the desire. The desire, understand what I'm saying, is no longer there, and it hasn't been for 15 to 20 years. Because here's the thing that you need to understand, and people who suffer from compulsive urges understand this. People who don't suffer from it do not understand. That's what I was trying to tell Phil. You couldn't possibly understand. Um, it's a constant nagging. It's constant monkey on your back urges to engage in that behavior, and it never lets you rest ever. You may have a few minutes between, acting outs, but I mean, it's all day, every day on you, man. And it's demoralizing. And people who suffer this way, you know, um, there are victims, because these behaviors, like I say, when you're smashing stuff around your house and stuff like that, I mean, other people that live with you, I mean, they're victims of the behavior, but you suffer with it as well. The person who is in the grip of these compulsive behaviors, in the grip of that, um, they suffer as well. Make no mistake, most people are not wanting to engage in these behaviors. It's a compulsive, it's a disorder. And so I'm here to talk about the solution to that, because I looked at myself as hopeless, helpless. You know, there were times when, I really just wanted to, slice and so I did, um, because I just didn't want to be on the planet. I just hated my life. I hated myself. And so I made a few attempts, a couple of attempts, um, a couple good attempts. The rest of them were, kind of half-ass attempts, to be perfectly honest, but I made a couple of really good attempts. So anyway, the thing is that all this to say, I understand. I do understand what you're going through if you're suffering from compulsive behavior. So I don't want to spend too long on this, but I am going to be making more videos, um, recovery oriented, recovery focused videos, where the focus is on your recovery. And this is why I'm calling these videos Fix Yourself. Because again, there are people who can help you, and I would like to be one of those people to help you, because I've been where you're at, and I know how it sucks. I understand how it just sucks, and I feel for you if you're going through compulsive behaviors that make you feel less than, feel that, whether it's alcoholism, drug addiction, exhibitionism, drinking, gambling, eating, overeating, whatever it is. I know how it makes you feel about yourself. And you know what? I can't tell you that it's the worst feeling in the world, but I'll tell you what, I know that it's got to be right up in the top few worst feelings in the world. So I want to, I feel like, God has been good to me and allowed me to be free from that compulsive form of behavior that had me loathing the man I saw in the mirror. I like who I am today. I'm not perfect. I am not, all of a sudden like Gandhi or Jesus. I'm not. I mean, there's, I'm not even going to go there right now in this video. But to say the most spiritually fit person on the planet, no, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am. But that problem no longer plagues me, and the character defects that I still work on today pale in comparison to that character defect. So I kind of like the guy that I am today. So having said that, I just want to focus on, just give you a little background about who I am, what I have been through. Many of you, like I say, who do know me from the Dr. Phil uh, show on exhibitionism, know that my compulsive behavior that I struggled with was exhibitionism. But beyond that, most people don't know much of anything, about me and my journey through my recovery uh, from where I was to where I am now, and how I was able to. Because one thing Dr. Phil did say that was honest was that only 15% of people who suffer from exhibitionism ever overcome that behavior. And so I'm one of 15%. That's a pretty low percentage. So I figure if I have been blessed to be in that 15%, that small group of people who have overcome this compulsive form of behavior, then I feel like, you know, I have an obligation to share how I was able to do that. Now, the good news is for anyone suffering from this behavior, you can overcome this behavior. Make no mistake. You can overcome this behavior. I promise you that. Um, the downside and the bad news for you is it takes a long time, and it's not easy. It requires some work. So what these videos that I will be making um, will focus on will be the work. Okay, I'm going to walk you through the work. That's what I'm here to do. Is if you're suffering and struggling with any form of compulsive behavior, because it all comes down to the same thing. I don't want to go too long on this video. I feel like I already have, but real quickly, we're going to focus on the work. And just to show you the work that I have focused on uh, in my journey through recovery was, here's just a bit of information about that journey and what some of the work that it took for me to get where through that whole recovery process, and which never ends. When I say get through it, I mean the other side of that compulsive particular behavior. Certificate of Attendance Recovery of Innovations. This certifies certificate of completion awarded to Thomas Allen on May 2nd, 2008 for successfully completing seven hours of peer addiction recovery training. So in other words, I am certified in peer support, and that is what I'm here to do, is to support you folks who are struggling with whatever the form of compulsive behavior. I'm going to walk you through the work so that you can also be free, because you can be free from that behavior. Trust me when I tell you that. Have faith, just a little bit of faith, and I promise you, you can overcome that behavior. But you're gonna have to work. This is another certificate I received in the Wellness Recovery Action Plan, the WRAP program. It's I completed a course of study prescribed for graduation from the WRAP program through Recovery Innovations of Arizona, January 2008. Now here is this one is a Recovery Education Center, Recovery Innovations again, and this is August of 2008 for Group Dynamics. And so that's another certificate that I received for my efforts in my own recovery to fix myself. Community Building certifies that Thomas Allen Satisfactory completed 78 days of intensive outpatient co-recovery treatment from the Community Building program through Recovery Innovations of Arizona as well. And this was June 13th of 2008. So 2008 was a year of a lot of work for me. Now, this Recovery Innovations, this was not the first program of recovery that I was involved in. Just want you to know that. Like I say, it took a lot of work for a lot of years for me to overcome the compulsive behavior. I went through Alcoholics Anonymous and a lot of the 12-step programs, and I spent a lot of time in those recovery rooms, in those Alcoholics Anonymous rooms, in those addicts 12-step for addicts, drug addicts rooms as well. Even though I didn't really have a problem with drugs per se. I mean, I did a lot of drugs and I drank a lot, but stopping those things was not as difficult for me as the other. And lastly, here more recently, I received from Central Texas College, as you can see, a certificate that I satisfactorily completed a course of study prescribed by the faculty and the Board of Trustees, and is hereby awarded this certificate of completion for paralegal/legal assistant. So I am certified peer support, and I am have my certificate for paralegal studies as well. So that's a little bit about me and the things that I have uh, accomplished and that I've been working on in my program of recovery. What I want to go through with you folks to start out, because you have to start somewhere in a program of recovery. So what I would like to do on the first video, which I will be making very soon. I'm studying for a test because I'm going for a degree, my AA degree in heating and air conditioning. So I'm studying for a test to get certified, in HVAC for heating and air conditioning repair as well right now. So I have to get that done. But I do intend to start these videos right away. And the first videos that I want to start is going to be deal with the WRAP program, the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. So anyone who would like to take part in your own recovery and fix yourself, I'll walk with you through this, and I want to be a small part of helping you, get to the other side of this compulsive behavior, because it's important. I mean, you're worth, you're a precious life. You are a precious life, and no life should be thrown away because of inability to just be rid of compulsive behavior that that really has you kind of a prisoner, in a sense. It really is it's a prison. It's a prison. You're not your own person, and so I want to help you get through that. And I would like to start with the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. It's a good plan. It's a workbook adapted from the work of a lady named Mary Ellen Copeland. And I don't know much about Mary Ellen Copeland, but I know that she developed the WRAP program, and we're going to start with that in the next video. We're going to talk about the WRAP and the 5 parts that the WRAP program consists of. We are also going to talk about the welcome to WRAP. I'm going to give you guys the welcome to WRAP, and we'll be discussing those things. So until the next time we meet, in the next video, I just want to wish you guys well. I want to tell you not to give up. Don't give up on yourself, because again, you are a precious life, and don't let anybody, the Dr. Phils of this world, and that rabid wolf audience of his, who thirst for, someone to hate, and so people are going to always disapprove of me, of you. No one is liked by everybody, and that's just the way it is. Some people hate just because that's their compulsive illness. So don't let that get you down. You're worth getting well, and I just want to help with that. So until the next time that we can come together in the next video, take care and God bless.